This is a visualization of the judicial system that I'm working on. Before I started working on this, I didn't know a whole lot about how things were set up, and I'm still kind of piecing this together. So it might still be some issues with some of the connections, but the bottom line here is I'm trying to convey is how cases can go to the Supreme Court um, based on them starting in one of the state courts. These are the state Supreme Courts. These are the state intermediate appellate courts. Um, Here are the appeals courts, and these are the district courts. And because they do the appeals process is set up this way, apparently, I include the bankruptcy courts down here. There's some funny little curve things here because for the circuits that have them, they have, I think it's called a bankruptcy appellate panel that I think most of the appeals would go to, but you can ask or whatever to actually appeal to the district court. And that's why there are these lines, these dashed lines. I'm going over these guys. The mouse over so a little messed up. So I've got the the appeals circuit courts, including the D.C. court, the special federal court of appeals, um, which hears things mostly on um, claims and all sorts of other stuff. Actually, if you mouse over and see what it does, it shows how there are certain cases, I think, where the appeals can go from the district court to the federal circuit court. Got some stuff up here for the armed forces that can send stuff to the Supreme Court from the Court of Appeals. It's you can't tell here; it's hard to see, but there's a couple of four different little appeals courts down here in the armed forces. And then what I'd started was, whoops, see my mouse over, so we're just going out of their mind. Come on, I click it and you have to sneak out. I'm using Q-tip, which is nice, but I still need to tweak on that. Here are some, now the basic idea seems to be, and again, I'm very new to this, people generally, most of the cases come before the Supreme Court via certs, or writs of certi or rari. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. They're called referred to as certs, and almost all of them come that way. Um, but there's some other special cases that can result in things getting reviewed by the Supreme Court. One of them is this original jurisdiction, um, which has to do with, in certain cases, the Supreme Court's the only court that can hear it. I think I give some information here about what those cases are, but that's not the point here. The point here is I'm playing with trying to animate things to show how cases or decisions might be rendered by the Supreme Court based on where they started from. I pulled some information from the Supreme Court database coupled with this, and I am doing a little animation thing that I'm about to get rid of because I don't think it's that useful, but I wanted to go ahead and kind of log this that I did it. So what it does, I went through, there's about 1,000 cases or decisions by the Supreme Court between 2012 and 2013, and it goes through and I'll show you what it does here. So you here, click it, close that silly thing. It takes it a second to get going, and now it's running through the dates when decisions were rendered. And it's showing the court that was affected, and the links themselves are getting bigger, and I'm using a kind of a heat map thing to show the number of cases. I don't have a lot of pop-ups yet on the cases themselves that are involved in this. That's what I'm about to do next, as I kind of comment out this animation feature, which was not as useful as I had hoped it would be, because it's just a kind of a blur of activity. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but I think it's what's more interesting potentially is kind of where you end up and where most of the cases seem to come from. Right now, these are all the cases. I'm going to look at other things where I am that you drill down on different types of cases, how they're distributed across the courts. So it ran through them all, 2013. You can see the big one here is going to the Ninth Circuit. From there, um, the Central District of California. I don't know what that is. About 60 decisions where that court was the origin of case. Assuming the data is correct, I'm still kind of scrubbing through it. Another thing to look at, just as an aside, I'm including the for each justice or judge that's on these circuit courts. I'm showing how many were appointed by Republican president and how many appointed by a Democratic president. And so, yeah, that kind of includes that here with the information. If you're interested in going to see the sites, I've got different. You can go off to this government site or go see the list of the cases on Court Listener, courtlistener.com. And so that's about it here. Again, I'm just kind of recording for posterity the animation feature before I comment it out and start doing some other things with this. And that's kind of it. I'm still learning very much about all this stuff. It's very interesting.